At Paula's birthday party, everyone except me, I stood there holding the gift in my hands, the same one she once said she'd always dreamed of. I had spent weeks preparing for this, dememorizing her favorite color, wrapping it myself, even skipping work meeting. I wanted everything to be perfect. But when I walked in, she didn't even glance my way. Ryan, her old college buddy, was the first one she hugged. She laughed loudly with him, her hand lingering on his arm like I wasn't even standing there. People greeted me out of politeness. But Paula, not a single word, not even a hi. She walked past me 3 times, once to fix her makeup, once to take photos, and once ironically to get champagne for Ryan. At first I told myself maybe she hadn't noticed me, but then I caught her glancing over, hesitating for a moment, then turning away, like I wasn't worth the effort. I wasn't invisible. She just wanted me to feel like I was. I stood quietly in the corner while she cut her birthday cake. Right beside her, joking about how he should have been the one to make the wish. She giggled and replied, "Maybe next year." The people around them burst into laughter. And that's when it hit. Me, this wasn't an oversight. This was deliberate. A message, loud, clear, and humiliating. So I smiled. I pulled out my phone, stepped onto the small stage beside the DJ booth, and tapped the mic twice. The music stopped. Heads turned. Paula froze mid-laugh, her eyes widening when she saw me standing there under the spotlight. "Sorry to interrupt," said calm but steady, "but I just wanted to share some good news too." I looked straight at her and smiled. "I just got engaged." Gasps filled the room. Paula blinked, confused. "To Wendy?" I continued. Turning my gaze toward her best friend across the room, Wendy stood frozen for a second. Then, slowly, she looked at me and nodded. Silence. Paula's wine glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. I didn't flinch. I'd clinked too many empty glasses with her in the past. Tonight, I finally raised one for myself. My name is Mitchell. I'm 28. I work in interior design, and for the past 3 years, I've been in a relationship with Paula Smart, vibrant, the kind of woman who walks into a room and makes people turn around twice. When we first met, it wasn't fireworks. It was something quieter, something steadier. She had just moved to the city, chasing her career in event management. I had helped redesign the lobby of the firm where she was interning. She complimented the chandelier, said it looked like dripping stars. I still remember how her eyes lit up when she said it, for the longest time. I thought we were the real thing. We had our quirks. She hated messes. I was always late to dinners. She loved jazz. I leaned toward silence. But we found middle ground, or at least I thought we did. In the beginning, she made time. Asked about my projects, sent me pictures of furniture she found beautiful. She made playlists for our late-night drives, left notes in my coat pockets before work. I thought that meant something, but slowly the notes stopped. The playlists were replaced by messages left on read. She started having more and more late nights, client meetings, she said, team planning sessions. At first I believed her. I wanted to believe her. Then Ryan reappeared, an old friend from her college years. He had just moved to the city for a new job, and apparently didn't know many people here. He's going through a rough time, she told me. I just want to be there for him. I've known him for years, she added. He's like family. She said it so confidently, like it was fact. No room for doubt, no room for me to question it. So I stayed silent the first time she canceled. Dinner to have coffee with Ryan? I brushed it off. The third time she left me waiting at a restaurant with a reservation under my name. I started noticing, "I'm not replacing you," she said once, when I finally asked. "He just needs support." It's funny how that support looked like movie nights, grocery runs, and surprise birthday plans for him. It wasn't just about time. It was about energy. She gave him her laughter, her warmth, her spontaneity. I got silence. Carefully measured conversations. Apologies that felt too rehearsed to be sincere. But the final straw wasn't one moment. It was the accumulation. It was watching her go quiet when I entered the room while she was on the phone. The way she never posted photos of us anymore. The way she was tagged in Ryan's stories more times than I could count. I started keeping score not out of pettiness, but because I needed to remind myself I wasn't imagining things. In the past year, she forgot our anniversary, my birthday, even a job milestone I invited her to celebrate. But she remembered Ryan's dog's vet appointment. Still, I stayed. I kept thinking maybe it would get better. Maybe she just needed time, but Ryan would stop leaning on her. Maybe she'd remember what we had. But people don't forget what they value. I remember one lazy Sunday she had fallen asleep on my chest. I ran my fingers through her hair and asked, "Do you think we'll still be like this in 10 years? Didn't open her eyes. Just smiled and said, "As long as you don't get bored of me first." I should have known then. Now, we barely shared space. The apartment was full of silence. Conversations became practical. "Did you take out the trash? Can you grab eggs? Ryan's coming over for a bit. I'll keep it short." Know how to respond anymore. So I stopped trying, but I noticed everything. How she'd change outfits 3 times before meeting him, but wear the same hoodie on our dates. How she'd say she was too tired to talk, only to spend the next hour on video chat with him in the living room. I wondered, was it me? Had I grown dull? Did Ryan have something I lacked? No, he was just new, exciting, and most importantly, he wasn't me. Maybe that's what hurt the most, because I had given Paula everything, in my time, my loyalty, my patience, and all I got in return was the slow, quiet ache of being replaced. At her party, watched her float from guest to guest, radiant, laughing like we weren't even together. It's like I was just another person who happened to show up. She smiled at Ryan the way she used to smile at me, and in that moment, something inside me shifted. Not anger, just clarity. If I didn't matter in her world, then it was time to leave. That night, everything changed. The week before Paula's birthday. I asked what kind of celebration she wanted. She was lounging on the couch, scrolling through her phone. Her legs stretched across my lap. "Nothing big," she said casually. "Just a small gathering. You don't need to stress." I didn't stress, but I still made a plan. I talked to her best friend Wendy, who helped me pick out the gift, something Paula had once pointed at in a store window. A delicate necklace with a small charm that matched the earrings she wore every time she wanted. "To feel confident, I want to wear something like this when I feel unstoppable," she had said, smiling at her reflection. I remembered, and maybe deep down, I hoped that if I gave her something that reminded her of that version of herself, she'd remember us too, the version of us that laughed in bed over burnt toast, that watched documentaries on mute just to make up stories for the people on screen. But when her birthday came, everything felt off. She told me the party would be at Ryan's apartment. He has more space, and he offered to help. I didn't argue. I just nodded. "What time should I come?" I asked. "Around 7, she said. "Everyone should be there by then." I arrived at 6:30, holding the necklace carefully wrapped and a small bouquet. She didn't greet me. She was in the kitchen with Ryan, arranging drinks, laughing at something I couldn't hear. I waited for a glance, a wave, a smile. None came, so I gave her one last gift, the truth. And I finally gave myself what she never did. Closure. She didn't say anything. Guests started to arrive one by one. They said hi to Misam with that awkward look. You know, the one when people sense something's off but pretend not to notice. Wendy caught on too. She walked over and asked gently, "Are you okay?" I smiled back. Why wouldn't I be? At 7:30, Paula stood in the center of the room, ready to blow out the candles. Ryan was right next to her, his arm slung casually over her shoulder, like it had always belonged there. Someone joked, "You to look like a couple," and the room erupted in laughter. Paula didn't deny it. She just laughed along with them. I didn't even hear my own heartbeat. I sat on the edge of the sofa, the necklace box pressed into my palm so tightly I thought it might snap open. I waited for her to come over to say something, anything she never did. Eventually I stood up and stepped outside for some air. Wendy followed a few minutes later. "She's been weird lately," she said softly. I nodded. I know she says everything's fine, but I can tell something's off. I didn't say anything else. I was too busy trying to figure out how the woman I loved had slipped so far away from me without a single fight, without a goodbye, without even noticing what she was doing. When we walked back in, Paula was pouring drinks for Ryan and taking selfies with him, someone called out. One with the birthday girl and her favorite guy. They posed, and just before the camera clicked, she rested her head on his shoulder. That's when it happened. Something inside me cracked, not out of anger. It's not jealousy, just quiet disbelief. I had shown up for her again. I bought the gift she once said she loved, arranged my entire day around her party. I stood through laughter that wasn't mine. And in a room full of people, she made it clear my presence didn't matter. She didn't see me. Or maybe she just didn't care. Later that night, while most people were dancing or eating, I tried to speak to her. Can we talk? I asked quietly. She looked at me like I'd just interrupted something sacred. No, she asked. I nodded. I'm kind of busy, she said, glancing toward Ryan, who was laughing at something across the room. Can it wait? Sure, it could wait, but I wouldn't. I looked at Wendy near the drinks, watching everything unfold. She'd always been kind to me, the kind of friend who didn't ask too many questions, but saw too much. Our eyes met, and I smiled. She smiled, back hesitant, but warm. That's when I made my decision. If Paula could treat me like a stranger, I'd stop playing the role of her loyal shadow. If she wanted to make me invisible, I'd remind her I still existed in a way she'd never forget. I couldn't sleep that night, not because of anger, not even heartbreak. Because of the silence, Paula came home late, probably after helping Ryan clean up. I was already in bed by then, eyes closed, breathing steady, pretending to sleep. She paused at the doorway for a moment, then tiptoed in, quiet like she didn't. Want to wake a stranger? That's exactly how I felt now. Stranger in my own relationship. In the darkness, I stared at the ceiling, counting every second she didn't turn toward me. Every inch between us in that bed felt like a canyon. I used to reach out for her in my sleep. Now, I didn't even move. The next morning, she was already dressed when I walked into the kitchen. She poured coffee like everything was normal. Going to Ryan's, she said casually. He needs help finalizing the event plan for his office. I didn't say anything. Just took a bite of toast and kept chewing. She glanced at me, lips parting slightly. Maybe she wanted me to stop her. Maybe she expected an argument, a feeder reaction. But I gave her none. She left 10 minutes later. The door closed softly. Behind her, like she was used to walking out on me, I stared at the chair where she used to sit, eating cereal and stealing bites from my plate when she thought I wasn't looking. There was a time she'd call me during her lunch break just to hear my voice. Now, I wasn't even worth a text. I started thinking about all the little things that had shifted without me noticing the gradual fade of affection. The days she stopped asking if I needed anything from the store. The nights I'd come home and she wouldn't even look up from her phone. I wanted to be angry, but all I felt was this hollow ache like I had already lost her, and I was just trying to figure out when it had actually happened. Maybe it was the day she forgot our second anniversary and swore it was just a busy week. Maybe it was when she stopped inviting me to her work events, saying I wouldn't enjoy them anyway. Or maybe it was last night when she laughed a little too comfortably in someone else's arms. The worst part? She didn't even realize what she had done. She thought I'd always be there, that no matter how far she drifted, I'd stay. That my silence was patience, not pain. But I was tired. Tired of being the second option. Tired of holding on to someone who had already let go. I stopped trying to belong to her that night. Everything started to change the week before Paula's birthday. I'd asked her what kind of celebration she had wanted. She was lounging on the couch, scrolling on her phone, her legs across my lap. Nothing big, she said casually. Just a small gathering. Don't stress. So I didn't stress, but I still made a plan. I spoke to Wendy, who helped me pick out a gift, something Paula had once admired in a store window. A delicate necklace with a small charm, matching the earrings she wore when she felt confident. I want to wear something like this when I feel unstoppable, she had said that day. I remembered, and maybe deep down, I hoped that if I gave her something that reminded her of that version of herself, she might remember us too, the version of us that laughed over burnt toast, who made up stories about people and documentaries we watched on mute. But when her birthday came, everything was different. She said the party would be at Ryan's apartment. His place has more space, she explained, and he offered to help. I didn't argue. I just asked what time she wanted me to come. Maybe around 7, she said. Everyone should be there by then. I arrived at 6:30 with the necklace carefully packed and a bouquet in hand. Paula didn't greet me. She was in the kitchen with Ryan, laughing about something I couldn't hear. I waited for her to glance up, to wave, to smile. She didn't. Guests started to arrive. Some greeted me with that same awkward look. Wendy came over again. "Are you okay?" she asked. I smiled. Why wouldn't I be? At 7:30, Paula blew out the candles. Ryan stood next to her, his arms slung over her shoulder. Again, someone joked, "You two look like a couple." Again, the laughter. And again, she didn't deny it. I sat on the sofa, the necklace box in my palm, waiting for her. Anything, she never came. I walked outside. Wendy followed. "She's been weird lately," she said. "I know," I replied. "She says everything's fine, but something's off." When we returned inside, Paula was still with Ryan, pouring drinks, posing for selfies. Birthday girl and her favorite guy. Someone shouted. She rested her head on his shoulder just before the picture. Clicked, and that's when something in me broke. Quietly, I had shown up for her again, bought the gift, rearranged my life, endured her laughter that wasn't mine. Still, my presence didn't matter. I tried one last time. "Can we talk?" I asked. She looked annoyed. "Now," I nodded. "I'm kind of busy," she said, glancing at Ryan. "Can it wait?" Sure, it could wait, but I wouldn't wait. Witnessing it all, eyes met. I smiled. She smiled back. That's when I knew. If Paula could treat me like I was nothing, I'd stop pretending to be something. That night, I didn't sleep, not because of heartbreak, but because of silence. She came home late. I pretended to sleep. She paused in the doorway and tiptoed past me, like I was a stranger. And that's exactly what I felt like. The next morning, in the kitchen, she casually said she was heading to Ryan's again. I didn't say a word, just chewed my toast. She hesitated at the door, waiting for something, reaction. I gave her none. She left quietly, and I sat there, remembering who she used to be. I remembered everything that had changed, and I finally admitted. She thought I'd always be there. She was wrong.